Hi, I'm Matt Mallory, founder and president of PS&Ed, Public Safety and Education, and host of Meet the Pressers.
I'm still here.
Yep.
I'm just back behind this thing now.
Meet the Pressers with Matt Mallory and Klint Necro. Brought to you by Public Safety and Education and the Trigger Pressers Union.
This episode is brought to you by Mantis. Mantis X helps shooters suck less. Next Level Training, the makers of the CERT pistol. Mike Hughes and Britt Lentz are rock stars, and you can be too if you train with a CERT. TheGunfood.com, your online source for ammunition. Mountain Man Medical, the right medical training and gear should be accessible to every American. Meet the Pressers is also generously supported by other fine companies, ranges, and our Patreon members. Thank you.
Welcome to Meet the Pressers. I'm Matt Mallory, and this is my guest co-host, Sarah Joy Albrecht. And Sarah's going to introduce our awesome guests here in a second, but I want to tell you a little bit about the show. We like to shoot things, blow things up, talk about faith, politics, the taboo stuff in the industry, talk about training and mindset and all that kind of stuff. So Sarah, without further ado, please introduce our awesome guest.
Very cool. Well, I'm Sarah Joy Albrecht, and it's my pleasure to be here guest hosting today. And I have the honor of introducing Bill Brassard. He is the Senior Director of Communications at the National Shooting Sports Foundation. And I am just always encouraged by his messaging to the firearms community and his heart for saving lives. And so it's my pleasure to introduce Bill today.
Well, thank you, Sarah, and thank you, Matt. It's a pleasure to be on the show with you. Appreciate it very much.
Sure, glad to have you. I have to say, right off the get-go, because I was at SHOT Show, and that was like my 7th or 8th SHOT Show. It was awesome. It was probably the most productive SHOT Show that I've had, and sorry to those people that decided not to come. Because
it was a very successful SHOT Show, despite the challenges of putting on a trade show or even a consumer show of that size during these difficult times. But it really went off well. We had about 43,000 registered attendees and 2,400 companies that were there. And as you probably heard, if you were at SHOT, I think the overarching message was, even though attendance was down a little bit, that people really enjoyed having the time to have better, deeper, more meaningful conversations between exhibitors and buyers. But I think also our community was just ready to get back to an in-person meeting. Ours is a tactile industry. We like to touch the firearms and the optics and the cutlery and the clothes, whatever it is, the night vision goggles and so forth. And I think people were just ready to get back together in person and do that.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it was a breath of fresh air. I didn't get the SHOT Show crud, as they call it, right? I didn't get sick at all from COVID or anything, right? And I think that the just being mindful, washing your hands, hand sanitizer, I think all that is doing. But I really commend you for going forward. It took a lot of courage to be able to do that and not bow. I'm sure there was a lot of pressure from behind for you guys to cancel it or move it to another location. You hear that buzz in the industry. So thank you for actually, standing your ground and actually making it happen, because it was one that will definitely not be forgotten in my book. And I made lots of new contacts, lots of good contacts that I already have. We've, re-solidified those relationships, even after the show.
Yeah. Thank you for that saying that and for that support. That's very meaningful to us, because sometimes we don't hear that, right? We hear the criticism, and but I appreciate that very much. And I would just add, it's so important for the industry to have a SHOT Show, because a large portion of NSSF's revenue to help support industry and protect industry comes from the SHOT Show.
Wow.
So, when NSSF is out there fighting to have industry companies, firearms retailers, and ranges and manufacturers deemed essential businesses during the height of the pandemic, when a lot of businesses were closing or being shut down, NSSF was behind that. And the same way, we're working now to protect industry from some discriminatory banking practices and so forth. Again, that's a lot of funding that takes that. And then, of course, just doing some of the things that we're going to be talking about, running our Project Child Safe and suicide prevention efforts to promote safety and responsible ownership. That all comes at a cost. And the SHOT Show is really behind a lot of that support for NSSF.
Sure. Well, one last question on SHOT Show, and then we can move on to the Project Child Safe and NSSF as a whole. Looking back now, is there anything that you might have done differently, or is there anything that you might change going forward on future shows based on turnout, geography, size of floor plans, different things like that?
Yeah, I'm sure that there will be an evaluation of the, because I should say that SHOT Show expanded for the first time into a second venue. So we were both at the Venetian Expo, which formerly was called the Sands Expo, and that was filled to capacity for the last 10 or plus years. And then for the first time, we were able to move into a brand new facility called the Caesars Forum. And, we were able to take a lot of companies off the waiting list, hundreds and hundreds of companies, get them into the SHOT Show, get them in front of buyers, and hopefully get them on their way, sort of like an incubator. A lot of times SHOT Show is like that. So I'm sure there'll be an evaluation of how to configure floor plans and so forth in exhibitor space, given those two venues, and that this was the first time that we were using the two venues. So yeah, I mean, there's always they look at policies, look at evaluating strategies for the next SHOT Show, and they're working on that already.
Well, I love that Radio Row was inside, and it gave more room, more views. I did tons of interviews there in Radio Row, which years past it wasn't as much because it wasn't the spot I traveled. But walking around, I'm like, you know what? Oh, hey, there's so and so. Nobody's sitting down. Hey, Mike, you want to talk? And they're like, sure, sit down. So I think that was a better opportunity for exposure for the people showing up to actually be at the show. So that, along with the resting areas for chairs, and that's tough, I know, because real estate's prime. But I think that was beneficial too, because you're walking through, you sit down, take a break, check your, post things on the internet. So those little spots like that around, I found as a benefit. And hopefully, you can take that back to the committee there and put that in as some feedback.
I will. We always have our notebooks out whenever somebody makes a comment.
Sure.
We take that down and make sure it gets to the right place. So
Perfect.
That's part of the secret, I think, of running a good show and listening to your customers. So.
For sure.
And I would say, SHOT Show is business, but, it's also fun. And one of the fun things that comes to mind is you may have touched on it previously, but the Women of the Gun event that we had that is associated with our Project Child Safe program and brings, hundreds of people together to network and show their support for that program and to meet some of the really the celebrity hunting and shooting women out there, from Christy Titus to Julie McQueen to a couple of the Olympic shooters, Maddie Burnow, bronze medal winner from 2020, and Lexi Lagan, who was on the pistol team. And then, of course, Julie Golub, who is always been a longtime supporter of our Project Child Safe program, and who we presented with our first Women of the Gun Award for all that she's done in her career, both competitively and through her support for programs like Child Safe. So, so anyway, that was a fun event.
For sure.
It was a really fun event. And Bill, I got to hang out with you a little bit at that reception for the Women of the Gun Award. And it was the inaugural award that she won, that first person to win that award. And we have had the privilege of interviewing Julie, and I just love her heart for just encouraging people. And something that I took away from talking to Julie is she's such a strong person, and she's so decorated with all of her accomplishments in shooting sports. And yet she emphasized the importance of not only reaching out to other people, but also what it means when people reach out to her and let her know that they're thinking of her and praying for her, and some of the family situations that she has with her daughter. So it was really exciting to me that she did win. There were so many wonderful nominees, and I'm sure it was a hard choice, but I am always encouraged by Julie. I was sad she couldn't make it, but the video that she sent was just so uplifting, and it also just really spoke to women in the industry and how women have an opportunity to shine here. And I absolutely love that about that award and what it represents, but also about SHOT Show and how it definitely recognizes women and people from all walks of life.
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm glad that you were there.
It's beautiful.
So, Bill, talk a little bit more about Project Child Safe. Let us know how that began, how it started, and how it's progressed over the years.
Yeah, it's Project Child Safe is a program of the National Shooting Sports Foundation, and it started in 1999 in a very small way as a gun safety program that would provide free gun locks to communities through law enforcement departments. And it started in 5 cities, was piloted in that way, and gradually grew, and then got the attention of then Governor George Bush of Texas. And he really liked the program. And it started out really not as Project Child Safe, it started out as Project Home Safe. And then George Bush, while governor, said, I like Project Child Safe. And we will give you $1 million grant to run this program in Texas. And so so we like Project Child Safe too. So and so we did change the name. And then, of course, when he became president, he championed some federal funding for the program. And we're very fortunate to be able to use that funding to expand the program to where now it's operated in all 50 states, the 5 U.S. territories, with partnerships with 15,000 law enforcement departments, and has distributed more than 40 million firearm safety kits that include a gun lock. So really what it does is that it raises awareness about safe storage and the importance of it in communities. It also, in addition, helps encourage parents, whether they're gun owners or not, to talk to their children about gun safety and to educate them about what to do if they should find an unattended firearm. And then we've even branched out more recently and got involved through our partnership with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention in developing resources to help parents understand teen mental health or youth mental health better, because these are such stressful times, in particular for youth during the pandemic. And so it's really a comprehensive gun safety program, and we're very proud of it in the industry. And, I would just encourage anyone that if their community is not participating in this, to encourage their law enforcement department to take advantage of it. It costs them nothing to participate, and they can stand up in their community, be leaders of gun safety at no cost to them. It's really a great program, and learn more at projectchildsafe.org.
Awesome. So NSSF is for-profit, nonprofit, the organization itself, the company?
Yeah, NSSF is a not-for-profit trade association. It's not a charitable organization. But Project Child Safe has grown so much that it has developed its own charitable arm called the Project Child Safe Foundation, a 501c3 organization. And that's been doing very well in about the past 5 years or so, helping to supplement the funding that industry provides for that gun safety program.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. And then SHOT Show's another business underneath the NSSF
Yeah, and SHOT Show, I guess you might call it a program. It's not a
Okay.
standalone like the Project Child Safe Foundation. It's a program of Nssf, along with many other programs that we have to, safeguard the industry, to promote participation in hunting and shooting, such as our First Shots program and our +1 mentoring program. So we encourage people to pass it on, right, to a newcomer. And then, our safety programs, and then also our retailer and range operator education programs that fall under an umbrella called SHOT University.
Yeah.
So Nssf has many, many programs, but Project Child Safe Foundation is a little bit different as a freestanding 501c3.
Very cool. So you had mentioned.
Yeah, that's
go ahead.
That's good to know, Matt. And just to help people understand kind of where does Project Child Safe fall into all of that, and that it does have its own entity like that. And I loved also that you mentioned First Shots and +1, as well as SHOT University. I was able to attend the suicide prevention, SHOT University at SHOT Show, and that was fascinating. There was folks from Nssf there, and also the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And Bill, when you're talking about firearm safety and promoting that within our own community, a lot of times people use firearm safety as a euphemism, right? And they really mean for it to mean other things, to kind of more like sometimes in a gun control way. And even though it is something that everyone needs to talk about, tell me why it is so important that the firearms community in particular takes leadership on this issue, and how we can encourage others in our community to be that voice for true firearm safety.
Yeah, well, as you noted, Sarah, there are other organizations that have rebranded themselves as firearm safety organizations because it just sort of scans better. It looks a little better for them. But really, it's important for Nssf and Project Child Safe and our other gun safety efforts to take a leadership role out there, because we are the credible voice, and we remind the many, many partners and supporters that we have who want to make a connection with Project Child Safe because they want our credible messenger voice to go along with, to give them the halo of partnering with the right gun safety group. And, we've had good success in the past 20 years that firearms accidents have declined by more than 40%. I'm not saying that Project Child Safe was integral in every single one of those, because there are a lot of groups out there doing great gun safety education efforts. Hunter education, for example, the NRA does great work through Eddie Eagle in the certification of instructors and so forth. But, during that period that we were operating, accidents did go down. So we're very thankful for that, and shows we're on the right path. But yeah, I think we're the credible messenger, right? Because if people start talking about what gun owners should do with their guns, gun owners start to get suspicious right away. But if they know that the industry is behind the messaging, they're much more likely to listen. Because, as we like to say, Project Child Safe is a program developed by gun owners for gun owners. So they can, they know we're on their side. We want them to own, use, and enjoy having firearms.
Mm-hmm. As the director for communications for the Nssf, I know you and I have talked a lot about the importance of messaging and reminding people in our community, we are a trusted resource. The Nssf is a trusted resource, and you do things like provide toolkits that can be shared throughout the firearms community. Can you offer encouragement to folks who are in the industry and might want to share messaging about suicide prevention or firearm safety? What encouragement do you have as they're communicating it to the community? It's important that they speak up, but what are some of the tips that you might share to help them do that in an appropriate way?
Yeah, so first of all, I would say that, just to have these materials in the place of business, so in firearms retail shops, at shooting ranges, it's in pawn shops, it's very important to use, particularly the AFSP the Nssf Suicide Prevention Toolkit, which has posters encouraging having a brave conversation with someone who might be going through a difficult time. It has educational information in there to make staff of those businesses more aware of when someone is going through a difficult time. So, they may not sell or rent a firearm to that person who is exhibiting some warning signs that you might pick up on. And then, I think, just that the fact that NSSF's logo is on the materials can help open doors because sometimes firearms retailers or ranges, they wonder who's delivering this message and, what it's going to mean for them. We're a suspicious group, right? And, people are trying to take our guns away. They're trying to blame us for things sometime. So we want to feel assured that we're doing the right thing. And I think NSSF's logo on these materials really does help with that. And I think that the same thing goes for when we're talking to members of the community, gun owners in the community, is that, the firearms industry is not going to lead them down a path that's going to cause them problems. We just want to make a connection and let them know about the importance of safe storage when their firearm is not in use, when it's not under their direct control, trying to help them choose the right safe storage device for them. It may not be a cable lock, which is the lock that we provide free of charge. If they're keeping a gun for home security, it might be a lockbox, which is a great device for that purpose. So it really is about trusted messaging, and I think just being active in your community. We can't do it all. We need partners at the community level.
It makes me it makes me wonder how hard it's got to be at the level of an organization your size, where you've got to really vet and think about the message you're going to put out there so that it's not taken wrong. We see it with other organizations. There's been some gun companies that hopped onto the biometric smart guns, and they got boycotted. They got other companies that are coming out with training or ways to train, online training, and then their instructors boycotted them and were up in uproar many years ago. And we'll leave the company names out of it, but we know that, we see that in the industry. So to come up with a new program or come up with a different marketing or direction, I mean, is communication in that sense has got to be crucial to have a sounding board and a feedback loop so that you can make sure that you put it out as polished as possible so that you don't get any back, some feedback, bad feedback, or, blowback, if you will. Can you talk about that at all, as far as maybe some of the woes in the industry that you've seen and or experienced? And
yeah, well, I think you're absolutely right, and we do take a lot of time in crafting these messages, and we look at how they can be perceived, I think a good example is of our partnership with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. The industry recognized that 60% or so of all firearm deaths annually were suicides. They weren't homicides. They weren't accidents, as some would like you to believe, and that the industry, as well as the gun owning community, could take a leadership role in helping to reduce that rate. But we're not experts on suicide by any stretch in the firearms industry, so we really needed a partner to go down that path of education, and so it took a while I think, to develop a trust, right? You have the conversation over time, and you learn about each other on a human level and not on an institutional level. And it took a number of meetings with AFSP, but we felt comfortable with them, and we had this partnership, and we developed a really robust communications package, a toolkit for retailers and for consumers, and we're able to deliver that. So I think that's a good example of how we want really to engage in a non-traditional partner, right? I mean, 4, 5, 6 years ago, it would have been probably almost unthinkable for industry to be involved in suicide prevention. I mean, and now at the SHOT Show, we have 4, 5, 6 groups who are exhibiting at the show. A number of them are partners. Sarah was at the show with Hold My Guns. Walk the Talk America was at the show. They do a great job. And of course, our partners, AFSP and the Department of Veterans Affairs. The VA unfortunately couldn't make it because of government travel restrictions, but those folks are there, and they are welcomed by industry. I know that they are very busy at their booths and people telling their stories. And so it just shows you that the industry and community wants to help with suicide prevention. We want to help save lives and get the message out that suicide is preventable, and to break down the stigma of talking about suicide and having those brave conversations, as we like to call them.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate what you what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I appreciated that point that you made about just that human element, and that it is so important to a lot of times in sharing with others about suicide prevention and firearms safety, especially when I'm talking to folks who might not be in our own community, but who care about saving lives. I always try to remind them to bring it back to who are gun owners, who are the people who own firearms and who carry them every day, whether, it's a single mom having to, go from her place of business to her car in a dark parking lot somewhere. Why are people carrying firearms in the first place? And to really put a human face on gun owners too. And I love how the toolkits that Nssf provides in collaboration, the ones with both AFSP and with Project Child Safe, that you really do an excellent job, Bill, of showing gun owners that this is a normal thing to have a firearm, but it's also important to emphasize responsibility. And I think that's something that really resonates about the message that Nssf puts out. And that is like, we have to actually think about people and not just be hyper focused on a firearm, but yet, because firearms are our lane, that we have a responsibility to share best practices for that. And that helps save lives. I loved hearing how, in the past 20 years, which is essentially how long, Bill, you have been at the Nssf, that we have seen a reduction in those numbers. And I'm just so thrilled because it underscores the importance of taking leadership on that.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you for saying that, Sarah. I like to tell people that I've changed my view. Sometimes it's hard to change your own mind, right, about things. But by listening to experts in this field, I have changed mine. So I used to think that, you're in charge of your own life. And if you wanted to even take your life, that was up to you, right? But listening to experts, I've come around on that idea because I've been told that, when you're going through such a difficult time and you're you're in crisis and you're not really thinking about things in the same way that you would think of things during so-called normal times, you're not in possession of all the coping mechanisms and abilities that you have to work out and sort through the challenges that you're facing. And so, you may not be making the best decision if you are arriving at a decision where you want to harm yourself, and that if you can get through that, you will go on to live a full and healthy life. And so, and the other thing is, things that I've learned that I hope the community is learning is that when you prevent access to a firearm by someone who is in crisis, that person most likely will not seek another method of harm. It's just, I guess, the way that a person is thinking during that particular time. Maybe it's sort of like a tunnel vision. I'm not sure of the clinical name for it, but that's just underscores the importance really of safe storage, because if you deter that person at that critical moment, the odds are that person could go on and get professional help. So just some things like that that are so important that I've learned and that I think people in our community can learn and that can help save a life.
We, in my classes, I'll usually use the term that glass only keeps good people honest. And if the only thing between glass, the outside world, and your guns is glass, then you've done nothing to lock those guns up. Because I know a lot of people that stage guns all over the country where I travel and teach. They'll stage guns throughout their house. my first thought is there always somebody home? Because, when my wife and I leave the homestead here and our property and we go to the store together as a family, which doesn't happen as much as it did prior to COVID, but it happens every once in a while that we actually get off the farm. And when we do that, I got to think to myself, okay, I got to make sure that gun's locked up, right? But when we're here, I want them quickly accessible, not so my daughter can get them or our daughter can get them, but so I can get access to them. So I'm keeping them safe from her, but I'm keeping them as readily accessible as I can have them for quick need in a defense situation. But when we leave, I don't want them out where somebody can break a window, because a security system is only it's going to be after the fact. Police show up after the guns are gone. Now our dogs might help thwart that effort, but there's no guarantee, right? There's certain areas that our dogs can't get access to where I have guns. So we got to be cognizant of that glass display cases, that's what they are. They're display cases. They're not a safe. They're not a place that somebody can still gain access to those firearms.
That's right. No question. And I would just,
go ahead, Bill.
Go ahead. I would just add one more thing. I was thinking about things that I have learned that have really altered my view of things in this area. Is that just the idea of having a brave conversation, as we call it, it really is just opening up or reaching out to a person who you have a sense is struggling, right? So the experts say trust your gut. And you can tell when something's not quite right with somebody, or even more overtly, they really are. They've mentioned talking about harming themselves, or they're giving away possessions and so forth. That you really just have this direct conversation with them, ask them, what's going on, what's different. And you can even directly ask them if they're thinking of harming themselves. And the experts tell us that will not cause them to harm themselves. And that very often, or in most cases, really, the person will be thankful that you are showing care for them and are willing to help them, find help. And so obviously it's both easy and difficult, I think, right? It's an easy thing for us to do, but sometimes it's difficult for us to do because you don't want to intrude on somebody's space. But really, make the effort to do it if you feel like somebody really is struggling and you're worried about them.
That's good. That's really good. Awesome. Well, so I hear you're a hunter.
I'm not a big game hunter, but I do enjoy hunting upland birds.
Okay. All right. So then I've got a question for you. What's the most exotic or different type of animal you've either harvested and or have consumed?
Oh, it's not exotic at all, unless you can consider a ring-necked pheasant exotic. So every year, one of my favorite hunting trips is really just to get together with good friends out in South Dakota to go pheasant hunting. And there's no drama or anything like that. There's just a few people getting together, watching the dogs work, getting some birds, having good dinners, and just seeing each other, probably for the first time in a year's time, or in this year's case, it's the first time in 2 years. So it was just great to be together. But and I notice also, I guess it's well documented that hunters go through phases. When you're younger, you just want to get out there, you want to kill something, or you want to get the gear and everything, and then you want to be a mentor and stuff, and then you just want to socialize and
doesn't matter if you get something.
It doesn't matter if you get something.
Right.
That's right. And tell the old stories, right? So I think I'm sort of at that phase right now with my friends. Although tonight, actually, as it happens, that we will have a pheasant dinner. Some of those pheasants that I got last November in South Dakota.
Very cool. So real quick story then, you made me think of pheasant. Our middle daughter, who's 22, married child, her husband's in the Navy, took her on a youth pheasant hunt when she was 14, I think 14, somewhere around there, I can't remember the years. And I'm a hunter ed instructor. So I'm like, all right, my daughter, take her out hunting. 20 gauge shotgun that she earned by painting and babysitting from a friend of ours.
Wonderful.
And dogs running the pheasants, and she shot better than the boys, and she got a pheasant, and that pheasant's actually right over on the other side of this wall that I got stuffed. And so we got, the shotgun she earned, and then the pheasant she got, and I ended up getting that taxidermied. So
that's the best, isn't it?
yeah, it is.
That's
Cool.
really cool. And programs like First Shots too, like thinking about like, how do we share those experiences with the next generation, and how do we just, I guess, show the beauty of it and throughout different ages and stages of life. And, as I get older and my kids are older, it's exciting to see how they're sharing about different things that they remember from their childhood. They were very involved with a youth rifle league, and just the amount of self-discipline and situational awareness and positive environment, meeting friends that they're still friends with today. I mean, Bill, you just talked about how for years you've been going out with your friends, and just the beautiful protective factor that the firearm community provides, and how those relationships just last over time, and they're so enriching. And I love how NSSF is purposeful to create programs that can foster those lasting lifetime relationships and appreciation for shooting sports. It's just a cool thing.
Thank you, Sarah, for saying that. We actually have a great opportunity now, because I'm sure you've seen in the news there are so many first-time gun owners out there in the last 2 years. I think the NSSF's survey of retailers show like 13.8 million first-time gun owners. And no doubt a lot of those first-time owners purchased a firearm for personal and home security, but we do have an opportunity to move them into the shooting sports, into target shooting or even hunting, and either through various types of trainings or competition or leagues, or excellent organizations like the Well Armed Women that have chapters all over the country that can provide a supporting environment for those new gun owners. So we don't want those new guns sitting in a safe. We want people using them and enjoying the shooting sports. And also when they do that, right, they buy stuff and they pay excise taxes, and they contribute to conservation and to hunter education and to building shooting ranges. So they really become part of the community, and they might not even realize, about that community, or that they are part of it already. And so we need to take that step. And I think it's a great opportunity that we have as the gun owning community to welcome these new folks into it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's awesome to have you on. Definitely talk about all the different aspects and everything going on over there. And I'm happy to be part of SHOT Show every year, and I think just having you on is going to make me help and support NSSF even more too, because you seem very genuine, and I look forward to building on our relationship in years to come, sir.
Well, thank you for having me on, both you, Matt, and Sarah, and we're all looking forward to the next SHOT Show.
For sure.
I'm sure.
We still keeping any surprises to let us know here on our show? Anything you want?
No, well, we need to take a breather. We just got back.
That's true. Yeah, should go and show to show, right?
Right.
Yes.
Awesome.
And you do have the Range and Retail show coming up, right? In July.
July in New Orleans. That's correct. That's relatively new, and that's a show just for the retailers and the range operators, and it's become successful in a very short time. So,
I didn't even know about that. That's cool. Yeah. I have a range and I have a retail store here on my property.
Maybe we'll see you there, Matt.
My wife's wanting to see me more. If I tell her I'm going to another show this year, maybe next year, but anything more this year.
Bring her.
Yeah.
Yes.
Super. So best way for people to get a hold of you, find out about all the things you're doing would be how, sir?
Yeah. So nssf.org, or particularly for safety, nssf.org/safety, or projectchildsafe.org. There's a wealth of information at all those sites.
Very cool. Any closing thoughts or words, Sarah?
I'm just so grateful always for the opportunity to see Bill and to talk with him. And I just want to underscore how important it is to have the right resources and how proud I am of Nssf. Hold My Guns is a nonprofit member, I guess, of Nssf. And we're really proud of that because like Bill was saying, the Nssf truly does care about our community and they do so many great things. And I would just encourage others to check out the good work that they do and also to join the Nssf, not just for SHOT Show, which is really fun, but for all of the wonderful things that Bill described today.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming, sir. Stay safe. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you both. Bye-bye.
Hello, my name is Klint Macro. A number of years ago, as we all watched the tragic events of Parkland unfold on the TV, one of my colleagues, Grant Gallagher, co-founder of National Train to Teacher Day, reached out to me with a tremendous idea. His idea was that we band together as a unified front of independent professional firearms and safety instructors and offer free training to teachers, school staff, and administrators so that we could help empower them, empower those people who are charged with the safety and education of our children with information and knowledge that would help them if ever, God forbid, evil were to darken the door of the schools in our communities. I thought this was a great idea. So I got the website built right away and sent out a call to action to my colleagues across the country. They answered the call. Hundreds of volunteer instructors offered their time, effort, and energy for the first National Train to Teacher Day, which took place in 2018. So we've done this every year, 2019, 2020, 2021. The last 2 years have been a little bit rough because of the pandemic, but we're going to hit 2022 very hard, and we're starting that today. I am proclaiming the 5th annual National Train to Teacher Day to be June 18th, 2022. Hundreds of volunteer instructors across the country are offering free training to teachers, school staff, administrators, and those that work with youth in a leadership capacity. That could be clergy, could be Sunday school teachers, could be priests, preachers, rabbis, and reverends. If you fit that category and would like to obtain some free training, whether it be gun training, safety training, unarmed training, pepper spray, situational awareness training, medical training, visit nationaltrainatoteacherday.com, and there you can connect with one of the volunteer instructors. If you're an instructor and you'd like to volunteer your time, effort, and energy to this cause, you can also volunteer on that website using the Volunteer tab. I'm very proud to say that over the years we have picked up some sponsors and some partners, and this year the U.S. Concealed Carry Association, the USCCA, Sabre Pepper Spray, and Taser are all sponsoring the 5th Annual National Train to Teacher Day. And what that means is they're going to offer free training supplies to certified instructors that teach their respective curriculum on National Train to Teacher Day. We've also partnered up with DC Project, a Girl and a Gun Shooting League, and the Armed Women of America. These organizations are fantastic organizations that are empowering our fellow Americans, and they're also helping us spread the word so that we can reach more end users in this program. Visit nationaltrainatoteacherday.com and find an instructor in your area. If there's not an instructor in your area, contact me. My information is on that website, and I will do my level best to connect you with a professional instructor that can offer you training on June 18th, 2022. I look forward to working with you, and I thank you all for participating. I really have to thank my volunteer instructors. If it weren't for you, this program would be nothing, and I am humbled by the amount of support that I've seen across the country from my fellow firearms and safety instructors. Visit nationaltrainatoteacherday.com for more information. Until then, we'll see you next time.
There's lots of sponsors that make this show possible, like Mountain Man Medical.
Check them out and give them your business.
This episode is brought to you by Mantis. Mantis X helps shooters suck less. Next Level Training, the makers of the SIRT pistol. TheGunFood.com, your online source for ammunition. Mountain Man Medical, the right medical training and gear should be accessible to every American. Meet the Pressers is also generously supported by other fine companies, ranges, and our Patreon members. Thank you.
Thanks for watching or listening to our show.
Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share. Click that little bell thingy so you know when the next episode's uploaded. Support us on Patreon. Come to one of our classes. Host us to come to you and do one of our classes at your location.
And until next time.
Adieu.
Thank you for watching Meet the Pressers.